Hi, I'm Brian Betts and I'm Principal Analyst with industry analyst company Freeform Dynamics. I'm here to tell you why much of what's been claimed in recent months about digital transformation is not quite true, and to give you some ideas on how you can change that for your organisation. People have been talking about lockdown accelerating digital transformation. We've heard CEOs claim they've seen 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months or 10 years in a year or whatever. But how real is that? Well, first you have to ask what they mean by digital transformation. We've done quite a lot of research into how organisations have responded to lockdown, and it turns out that in most cases we're really just talking about greater use of cloud and software as a service online applications to support remote working, and in particular work from home. And second, many of the execs making those transformational claims are from cloud or SaaS companies, and they have a vested interest. Hence the conflation of cloud with digital transformation. The thing is, cloud and SaaS may enable digital transformation, but they are not the same thing. Of course, some organisations have genuinely transformed themselves. There's areas where they've gone from doing almost all their consultations and so on in person to doing as much as possible virtually. Think, for instance, of healthcare and the legal profession. And the fact that it's been done out of necessity to keep things going doesn't make it any less of a transformation. So yes, those execs were partly right in their claims about digital transformation. Certainly they were for those organisations whose business model or business culture maybe needed updating, but who were resisting change. The question is how strategic that change can and will be going forward. So what we're seeing from our work from home research, in most cases anyway, is the tactical and defensive use of digital technology for business continuity, not for strategic transformation. The starting point for many has been to move existing processes online, to enable people to work from home more or less as they did from the office. The change, the real transformation, won't happen until and unless you go on from there to rethink and reorganise those processes, to transform what you do, not merely how and where you do it. Transformation isn't even the ability to work anywhere on any device, on a smartphone, say. Oh, sure, that can make us more agile and responsive, which is great, and it's hugely valuable from a business continuity perspective, but it doesn't necessarily change the substance of what we do. So, has everyone been too short-term? Well, not really, or perhaps I should say, not necessarily. Although a lot of what's happened with lockdown is that needs must stuff to keep the business running, it's still important, and it can be very valuable if it lays foundations for the real strategic stuff. For example, quite a few organisations have created virtual contact centres to give their contact staff the flexibility to work from home. Fundamentally, that's done for continuity, but it can have real value beyond that too. It opens up resourcing, say, since if you're not tied by geography and facilities, you can have a wider talent pool to draw on. Even more importantly, it makes it possible to break down boundaries within the organisation, involving more people and making support more inclusive. So now we're using digital technology for business transformation, breaking boundaries between disciplines and adding efficiencies. In addition, lockdown gave organisations the push they needed to make other changes, such as enabling people to work in new ways. This was particularly true in some traditionally conservative industries which had resisted digitalisation, remote working and so on. In many cases, it also made them invest properly, jumping whole generations of technology, where they normally have climbed uphill cautiously, seeing a small improvement from each small incremental investment. They've had to make that big leap to the top of the hill and over the other side. The thing now is to take that work that was done for continuity, and turn it into the foundation for something a whole lot bigger. The idea of using digital technologies to change and improve the way we work, to improve collaboration, offload routine stuff, reduce friction and so on, that's been around for ages. If you take workflow automation as a classic example, we've been writing and talking about it for decades. The problem was that it wasn't easy or cheap. It needed clunky big software programs, clunky big computers, and probably clunky big specialists to set it up. The difference now is that, as so often happens with technology, reality has not just caught up with those old concepts and promises, it's jumped ahead of them. Often, this kind of stuff is now simply embedded in other applications and just needs to be switched on. For instance, if you're now using cloud tools for remote working and collaboration, there's a good chance they also have workflow automation features in there somewhere. So the barrier to entry is much, much lower. Digital transformation can also mean changing how we engage and do business with suppliers and customers. Again, it's about reducing friction and adding efficiencies. For example, many small and mid-sized businesses traditionally relied on retailers and in-person sales, but that became hard or impossible during lockdown. So they either closed down for the duration or they went online. Now, some of them had never had web shops before, but they learned fast, and they discovered it's now a damn sight easier than they thought or feared. That's the technology reality catching up with the concepts again. Of course, it will require more to make these changes stick, to make them more than just business continuity measures. Transforming the rest of the business to keep up is harder, but necessary. For instance, if you now deal direct via a web shop, you probably need to send out many more shipments, but smaller ones, which is a different way of working, and you need to meet a different set of customer expectations. One of the big things we've found in our research into how companies have dealt with lockdown is a growing awareness of technical debt. That's the business continuity stuff you did in a hurry and that now needs to be redone properly. Letting people use their home broadband from the kitchen table, say, and not worrying quite as much as you normally would whether it's all fully safe, secure and healthy. Most likely, you're already hoping or planning to step back once you get the chance and take a good look at what you've had to do to cope with lockdown and work from home. Our advice is yes, do that absolutely, but don't just look at the debt. Look at what new capabilities you've acquired too. Chances are you've put in tools to do one thing, but they're actually capable of doing a whole lot more. A classic example is analytics and business insights. They're built into many modern software tools, but it's also things like API enablement, data sharing with other tools, and yes, workflow automation. So really get to know your new platforms and what they offer. Check with your service providers and software partners too. I guess the conclusion is to say that even if your continuity work isn't digital transformation per se, it has put the essential foundations in place. So now it's up to you to take them forward and build on them, whether that means business transformation or not. And for all you cloud service providers, SaaS vendors and technology partners who've helped create these emergency solutions, there's a huge business opportunity now, and perhaps some would say a moral responsibility too, to go back and help your customers get more from what they've invested with you. If you'd like to learn more about how organisations have responded to lockdown and work from home, and indeed read our previous research into digital transformation more broadly, you can find that and much more on our website. That's freeformdynamics.com. Well, I hope you found these thoughts useful. Not every organisation needs to transform, but many do. And the changes imposed by lockdown may make this the ideal opportunity to start building real change. Good luck.